Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's YouTube Creators Hub conversation. I'm so excited today to be joined by Johnny Brunette from the Johnny Brunette YouTube channel. For about 6 years, he did stand-up comedy every night as a hobby after work. Then the pandemic hit, and his wife got pregnant, so no more going to bars. He turned to YouTube as a creative outlet. And first, he did late-night talk show-style interview series. Then he did comedy bits. Then he switched to cooking on a flat-top grill because he actually cooked for a living and had some knowledge. The cooking videos did way better than anything else, so he stuck with that and has now been doing it for over 2.5 years. A little bit about his channel. He is approaching the 80,000 subscriber mark, almost at 77,000 right now, only 160 videos, and he is just killing it over on his YouTube channel. Johnny, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Dusty. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So give me, I know we kind of did a condensed version of your journey thus far, but give me the origin story and everything in between of the Johnny Brunette YouTube channel right now, because it used to be called Griddle with Johnny. You did the comedy stuff, and then you moved to the cooking stuff. Take us through that, the whole process and your thought process of kind of where it landed today.
Sure, absolutely, man. Yeah, so like the origin story, I guess, as a young boy, I was bitten by a radioactive griddle, which gave me super. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, I'm a big comic book fan, but
I love it.
yeah. So the YouTube channel, kind of what you said is, I was doing comedy. I really enjoyed it. The pandemic, my wife got pregnant. I'm not going out and risking anything. Nobody knew what was going on. Don't want to do that. So I still needed a creative outlet because I really enjoyed doing stand-up comedy. I wasn't like I said, emphasis on hobby. I wasn't getting paid to do that other than just like a couple free beers here and there. But so I started doing that. Entertainment is very difficult. I'm not saying don't do entertainment. I'm just saying it's very difficult. I mean, and as I was trying to learn and stuff, I first did a talk show where I interviewed people around town that were like in bands or they did comedy, just people I knew, and it was a blast. I mean, especially when it was on lockdown, it was a blast. But of course, like you're only getting the 50 people that know them watching that and stuff, and which is fine if you want to just do it for fun. It's not always about views and stuff. But I wanted to just try different stuff. So then I did skits, and I only did like 10 of them, and they did okay. Then I saw a flat top, wanted to get one. I've worked in food since I was 15 years old, front of house, back of house. I managed right out of college 2 years in a row at a restaurant called Bob Evans, which I'm not sure if they're down in your area as well, but similar to Cracker Barrel, IHOP, Denny's, stuff like that. So I learned a lot about diner style meals and cooking on a flat top, or a griddle as they're called. So I saw one, started doing a video on that, and they did way better, a couple hundred views right off the bat. And I actually knew stuff about
Right.
like doing that. Like I have experience to that. I worked in food, like I said, since I was 15. So I'm not a chef. I've never claimed to be. There's people that are so much more talented, and I would never insult professional chefs by calling myself one. I'm not traditionally trained, but yeah. So then I just started doing those videos, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie too. It's kind of grown in popularity. The griddles. I mean, they're from where they were 3 years ago. I mean, they're popping up everywhere now. Like you used to kind of see them at Lowe's and Home Depot, and now they're like always at every single one you go to, or a hardware store. So that's helped too. I'm not gonna act like, I kind of got on a something that's trending in the backyard cooking world. And yeah, and I just kept chugging away, trying to make better videos, trying to make different videos, and trying to be as helpful as possible to help people, learn how to use this piece of equipment.
Yeah, it's interesting that we're having this conversation today, a day after Father's Day.
Yeah.
Something that I've been wanting for a long time is a Blackstone, which I
Mhm.
assume would be considered a griddle because it is a flat top. I assume, is that kind of what we're talking about?
Yeah, so yeah, sorry. So I don't always, so think of so Blackstone's the most popular brand, and
Right.
of all the griddles or flat tops. So, and oftentimes it's synonymous, like Q-tip to cotton swab, or Kleenex to tissue. You know what I mean? People
Mm,
use the word Blackstone
right.
for griddle. So yeah.
Sure.
But yes, and they're a fine brand too. And
Yep.
so
I,
but
I'm
yeah, they're
ex
great.
I'm excited. I love to grill. Like you said, I am in no way a chef. I just enjoy the hobby of testing and tinkering with different things such as that. So, all right. So now we know kind of the origin story of the channel. When you say you started seeing some success and it motivated you, what were your next steps after you're like, okay, I found something that hits, that lands a little bit now. There's some momentum. What were your next steps? What did you decide to do next?
So next, I mean, I decided, obviously I'm going to continue to make these videos and do research and get better. And actually, I didn't tell you this previously, but I started studying and I listened to your podcast. And I actually listened, I went back to the beginning and downloaded every episode. And this is 2.5 years ago, and listened to them on the way to and from work until I got caught up. Just to see where YouTube came from is the first podcast that came up and where it was now, and to try to understand the history and stuff. So I did that. And then I also studied all the other griddle channels or popular channels that cooked on the griddle to see, what are they doing? How can I be different? How can I help people? And, as I was doing my study and trying to get better, there's a lot of things. It's like, a good thing I heard is like, there's only 3 ways to like stand out. It's, or, you can be the first, you can be better, or you can be different. And it's like, well, the first is probably gone for like everything. Like, I mean, that just doesn't exist on YouTube or anywhere anymore. Like, someone's already been the first, even if I did get in at an early time before griddle got even really more popular. You can do better. And, whether that's technology, camera, you make really, really, really crazy food that's really good. And then there's also different. And I think my advice to people is like, different's the easiest one. And the way to be different is to be yourself and to put in your special touch to it. And I did that just by trying to add some jokes in there and stuff. But then also my other different that I noticed from doing my research in my niche was, not a lot of people had restaurant experience, and not a lot of people were like really helping. Like, I mean, like really explaining like what they were doing. So I wasn't trying to be too boring or tutorial or like, I wanted to make sure my personality was there, but I was like, people aren't helping enough. They're just like, hey, I'm going to cook this, and they cook it. And they're like, yep, that's how you do it. And it's like, you're not explaining how to do it. But I've also had the luxury of training multiple people. I mean, hundreds of people in restaurants and food service. So I've had to train people before, which helps out.
When you studied those other griddle channels that were similar to you, which is something that I always recommend to this day, going on 12, 13 years into YouTube, I still look at the trending and popular tutorial channels on YouTube to see what they're doing to apply it to my channel. So it's obviously a good practice. So what did you discover when you started to research these different channels? What were some of the things that kept coming to the top?
So yeah, one thing real quick before I answer, I do want to say, I totally agree. It's very good to study people in your niche. To watch out the slippery slope of comparison, because it's like, it's such a fine line to walk, to where I want to study them and I want to emulate what's working to watch out the straight copying too. But I want to emulate them, but also don't just, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there's times where there's been nights where I'm just living and dying on like what someone else's channel is doing. And like, you can't do that. You got to run your own race. I mean, and like, I played golf growing up in high school and stuff. Like, you play the course, you don't play the kid you're playing against. Like, you got to play the course, and it just keeps coming back to that. Like, you got to do you. So, but you do need to know what's going on. You need to know what's popping off and what's trendy. So yeah. So first off, I mean, the best thing to do is go to the videos in the video section of the page and hit popular. I mean, and don't even go from there. So then I made a spreadsheet of like the 4 most popular channels and their top 10 videos in the spreadsheet, and started cross comparing like, what videos are working for them, what's popping up for them, you know what I mean? Because there's a time there where my first 25 videos where I'm just doing whatever I want to cook that day, and it's like, that's fine if that's what you want to do, but are you trying to see what the people want? I mean, the research, the data is already there for you. So I everybody's made a smash burger, sometimes there's 2 of them in their top 10. That's what people buy this piece of equipment to make. So it's like, so how long am I gonna, I don't know. I always tell my wife about this one where I made like a grilled cheese that was like a caprese grilled cheese, which was like mozzarella cheese, tomato, basil, balsamic, really good. Her favorite thing I've ever made on the griddle, like no views. And she's like, you should make that again. I was like, I'll make it for you. But like, no one cares. No one bought that to make this. No one's looking for that. So like, I mean, that's cool, but I gotta like put myself back in the shoes of the new griddle owner, and this is what people are looking for. It's listed there. So, I mean, that's a good way to do research with your competitors and just be like, what are they looking for? What are they doing? And what are they not doing? I mean, a lot of things was, um, I started this a couple years ago. It's not like a crazy video, but no one had a single video going, what is a griddle? Like just explaining what it is. Like, cause it's like, you know, you're blinded by, I forget, God, I'm going to forget the name of that, curse of knowledge or whatever. Like you know what it is. It's like, well, these things are getting more and more popular. I think people aren't jumping on YouTube and like just wondering what it is, what the basic nuts and bolts of it. How is it different from a grill? Why is it not a Traeger? Why is it not a Weber? Why is it not a big green egg or whatever?
Right.
And yeah, so they didn't, so answering some like real basic questions too, just to kind of get on the map and find people the other way, or find people. My thought with that process, sorry, I'm rambling on, was to jump the people's process when they found them. So if you're just thinking about it, I'm going to get ahead of the other griddle channels by when you're going, what is a griddle? How does it work? Before they get one and search, how do I make breakfast? Because then I got to compete with the big guys at that point, because they've all made a breakfast video. Yeah. So I jumped ahead and they already know me when they were just starting to think about looking for a griddle.
Yeah, you're certainly not rambling. I love all of that. That's your thought process of kind of what you were doing in that kind of season of the channel. And I just love that. I actually will go a bit further than that and talk about kind of what I call that type of content. The what is a griddle video for your channel is what I call the tentpole evergreen content that'll continue to roll and continue to bring views to your channel. You know, what is a griddle? How to clean your griddle, how to, you know, the certain tutorial evergreen. There's 5 to 7 to 10 videos you can do every year that'll keep on going, that'll keep on producing for your channel. And I always tell people when I'm coaching them, make sure you know what your tent pole or your evergreen videos are going to be. That way, you know, between those 7 to 10 videos, the other 50 or 60 you make in a year can be the how to make the breakfast or how to do the hash brown, whatever they are for your channel, right? And it sounds like you kind of figured that out quickly. Now, do you do this full time?
Do you mind if I cut in real quick on one thing? Sorry,
go right ahead.
Because you touched on that I think that it took me a while to figure out, that you just touched on, that probably is kind of obvious, is that when you said do every year, like I didn't realize I did them all the first year and then basically got all the way through the second year where I was like, without redoing a smash burger video, which is popular, without redoing a how to clean your griddle video. And it's like, yeah, you can do it every year. Like in my mind, it's like, oh, it's already there. I've already done it. People have already found it. Well, no, they haven't found it. There's been 30,000, 40,000 new subscribers since I made that video. And maybe they didn't see that one, or maybe because it's new. So, I mean, you can do it a little different than you did. But I mean, I just want to encourage people, like, because that's where I'm at now too, is where I'm like going back, and hopefully I'm better, but I'm basically what I would call doing the greatest hits collection, like again, like, and you should do that.
Yeah. And things change too. Like for my industry with software, I mean, there's interface changes, there's updates that happen all the time. And I have to do the same video, you know, if not every year, every 9 to 12 months, or, you know, every 2 to 3 years, whatever it may be. So knowing in your case, things may get better or more efficient, or there's new ways that people discover to do things. And so it's okay to do the same video, and it's not even the same. It's going to be updated and better and improved. And so that is certainly okay. So kind of back to the question that I asked you about, you know, is YouTube what you're doing full time now? Like what was your journey now into the creator space as an occupation?
No, it's not what I'm doing full time.
Okay.
I want to do it full time. I'm getting close. At some point I'm going to make the leap. I'm not sure. My wife and I talk about that a lot, and it's going to be at some point. It's obviously very nerve-wracking with a young child, and my wife works as well, but just doing that. So not to get too into the weeds, but this might be helpful for people thinking about going full time. I'm also focusing outside on our financial situation to make sure we're in the best situation to do that, by paying off some debt and lowering stuff down, student loans and stuff. And we want to get those off the books, just so it's one less thing to worry about when I make the jump, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? One less bill. And I think that's something that I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan. So like, that's where all that's coming from, if people are familiar. But anyways, I'd recommend watching him. But that's you know, that's part of it for me, is like lowering all of our costs and then giving it try for a year or two, and hopefully freeing up time to be able to do it. So we have certain marks we're going to hit, then I'm going to do it. I've made more each year than the year before. It's moving up a lot. I work full time. So what I did is I worked in food and retirement communities. I managed kitchens for 15 years. Actually more than 20 years. I started at 15 and I left at 35. And then about a year ago, I started working at a place that sells gas grills and griddles and big green eggs. So I took a job in my field to learn more. You know what I mean? Just it was specifically to help YouTube, with the intention of in another year or two, hopefully trying. I don't know. We'll see.
And
Trying to jump.
let's talk about the monetization for a minute. You're 2.5 going on 3 years into this now. Can you just speak on, I don't want you to give me exact numbers like, I made $3,233, but I want you to give me a good estimate of kind of what your monthly views are for your channel, kind of the size of the views every month you're getting for your channel, and then how much money average are you making from just the ad program, because I want people to kind of get a sense of reality. And then also, what are other ways that you're making money and monetizing the channel, and what are ways that you may plan to do so?
Okay, so yeah, so I'll try to do my best, and I don't mind sharing everything because, like I said, I've listened to all the episodes of this podcast and they've been very helpful. So I want to be as helpful as possible to everybody else. So this is a little difficult. So I'm gonna try my best to do round numbers because it's such a season specific niche. So it jumps drastically. Like right now, it is rolling like a lot, and so. I mean, the first year through AdSense, like around 10 grand for the entire year, but I wasn't even monetized till halfway through. And then the next year, I mean, it just ballooned up and closer to 35 to 40. So monthly, it's going to go from still 1.5 up to almost 6. And like what I would say this month and next month. So my average, is like 3 right now for this year. My average for last year was 3, or this year's like 4, last year's 3. I mean, because it's growing and stuff. So yeah, that's my average, but it's just, it just once Memorial Day hits, then it's just like everybody gets one. I mean, you can see my how to season a griddle, which is like the first thing you do. Like that video just skyrockets like once Memorial Day hits because everyone's getting one. This leading into this weekend, Father's Day, like you said, just boom, everything's going up. So, and then about September, it starts to slow down. It does okay. And then Christmas time again, people are going to get some for Christmas and stuff. So yeah, other ways I monetize. That's my big thing right now is trying to diversify my monetization. That's the other thing with going full time and not depend so much on YouTube. I'm like 80% YouTube AdSense is where the money I bring in. And I would like to raise the other 20% so that it doesn't feel like I'm attached to that, and get some things that I own myself. So I made an ebook, Griddle 101, the complete beginner's guide to griddling. Shameless plug, sorry. But so it sells first, it sold for $10 last year. Now it's $15. It's not a lot. It has 101 recipes. It took a long time to make, but it's something that I own. And it's on my website and I can push it and I can make all that money and it's not attached to, I mean, I drive people there from YouTube, but it's not attached to that. So
and
that's
how many of those do you think you might sell in a month?
Well, this one's hard because it's going crazy. So I mean, I would say I would sell like a couple hundred.
Sure.
Or so, well, no, this one 100 times 50, yeah, or close. I'm sorry, no, 50 to 100,
50
a
to
month.
100. And
Yeah,
most of
50
that
to
traffic is coming from your YouTube videos, right? You're just pulling those viewers, you're building that trust, and then they're purchasing that ebook.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they could land on my website somehow through Google search, but I doubt it because I haven't put a lot of time into SEO and I don't know anything about my website and like the few articles and recipes I have. So I mainly through that and mainly through my newsletter. I started a newsletter at the beginning of the year that I send out once a week, all about griddling, just a quick 1-page newsletter with tips. And at the bottom of that, every single newsletter has a link to my ebook. And I've averaged about 2 sales per newsletter when it goes out. So I can see when they're clicking on it through that as opposed to just leading through a video. So yeah, so that's growing. So I'm hoping that I'm going to grow it this year more, and then I'm hoping to grow it more next year. And then Amazon. So obviously something like this would be Amazon affiliate. I obviously have tons of griddle tools and spatulas and all that jazz under the sun. And
Mhm.
that's going up a lot. And I'm trying to make sure I focus videos on that as well. And that's the other 10%. So I'd go 80 10 10 is what I'd say it is. So that's how I make it now. And I'm trying to build that each year. There's tons of things I want to do, but it's my part-time. And when I tried to do everything else, there's just not enough time. Like I have to
No.
focus on what it is. And what's bringing in the most money is AdSense. So I'm trying to make the best videos I can, understanding that. And I think the second part of your question is what will I do? What do I plan on doing? When I do make the jump, I plan on then opening up and testing basically every monetization avenue I can to see what sticks. If it
Mhm.
doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm going to do memberships. I'm going to do merch. Um, I'm already doing a affiliate. And I'll probably do a Patreon or I'm sorry. So yeah, Patreon is / memberships. I'm going to do merch. I'm already doing Amazon, ebook, YouTube. Oh, and I would like to make a course. So those three things, the course, the membership, and the merch, I'm going to try once I free up the time to do that and try to do them right. And just kind of, that first year, open up more revenue streams and just see which ones work and then focus on them.
This is going to sound crazy to people, but there was a time early on in my creator journey, entrepreneur journey, even that I did the math and I was testing or trying, I was actually making more than $1 a month from 22 different income sources. And I realized exactly what you said. I wasn't making a ton of money. What was happening is I was spreading out so thin that I wasn't able to do one or two or three really well. So I've really kind of pared that down to just around 10, right around, 8, 9, 10, depending on the month, right? And I found that I can make way more money, and, you know, I don't count on YouTube ad revenue, which, by the way, I always want to say when I say that, I'm so thankful for the YouTube AdSense program, right? There have been months, especially during COVID when things went crazy, where that has been the lump sum of what paid the bills for me and my family. So I am so thankful that YouTube provides that. But I always tell people there's a caveat, right? Like, you shouldn't count on that. That shouldn't be the
Absolutely.
only egg in your basket. Do I think that it's going away? No, I
No.
don't. I think they are going to push it and continue to make it better. Now, it's going to ebb and flow. The
Mm-hmm.
algorithm may change. I went through a time the past year where kind of the numbers were down. Now my impressions are going back up. So it really just depends on kind of how things work. Now, I want to hit on something that you mentioned in that answer there early on at the top of the answer. You said you had a newsletter. What were your thoughts on why start a newsletter? I believe it's one of the most powerful things that a creator can have and obtain is email addresses, especially right now. What would you say about newsletters? Why you did it, and kind of the benefits and what you've seen from it thus far?
Yeah. Yeah. First, I just want to touch on one thing, like when you said and what I said there, it's the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule always applies. Look it up. It will always apply. 80% of whatever you're getting comes from 20%. So 80% of your income comes from 20% of your output. And that's what niching down to that and focusing on that rather than doing them all. So
Yes.
that's my opinion on that. It always works and you only have so much time, but, yeah, the newsletter, if you did your research and watch other anything that's telling you how to grow a business online, they'll always say a newsletter, and they probably said it for 2 years before I did it, which makes sense, which is hard because even at the beginning, when I make $100 a month on YouTube, it's like, well, I just made $100. Why would I start writing a newsletter when I can make more money on YouTube? And so finally, I finally broke down and did it. A lot of it was because of a book I read called Content Inc. It's a great book, and it recommended doing a newsletter. And basically it's going back to what you just said about YouTube is no, the world's not it's not going away. I don't believe that, but it's something you own. It's the audience that you own. You never own the audience on any form of social media, no matter which form you're on. It doesn't matter. It can change. It can always change. And if you don't think it can change, and I don't think YouTube will change either. I agree with you. I'm not like inducing panic. I hate that. But I'm just saying, if you don't think, oh, it'll never change, then ask yourself 3 years ago if you thought Twitter would be owned by Elon Musk. Like, just ask yourself if you thought that would have happened, because that was, crazy. And it's like, So, you own that source and you can directly feed to them. And that's the other monetization I've totally forgotten until you brought up now. The other one is sponsors. Like, so there's video sponsors, but now I have a 3,500 person newsletter just about cooking on one specific outdoor piece of equipment. So there's 3,500, about 50 to 60% open up. So I'm at about 1,500 people open it up every week, which is, for the first year, I think is good. I don't know. I'm just trying to build it. But when I try to get sponsors when I go full time, it's not just like, hey, here's all these videos and you don't know who's watching it for fun or it's not. It's going to be like, do you want to sponsor my newsletter where there's 2,000 people with a griddle opening it up each week? Do you want to put, do you want to put your spatula or your oil that you cook with or your whatever accessory in here? It's like, yeah,
Yes.
this is your target audience. Like I
Mhm.
have not control of them, but I have a mouthpiece in their ear. And so that's why I did it. And like I said, the ebook sales go up and I don't hammer them with it. It's just kind of at the bottom each time.
Sure.
But then whenever I do all the things I listed for monetization in the future to you, I now can directly get it to them.
Mhm.
These people have raised their hand, said I'm interested in griddles.
And another thought of mine is, right now I'm building kind of my pitch deck to sponsors or whatever it may be. I can tell them, I get, 30 to 40,000 views every single day on YouTube. I get around 10,000 to 15,000 downloads on a podcast, almost daily. And then I also have maybe a 10,000, creator economy based YouTube newsletter. So,
Mm-hmm.
these are things that when you pitch to sponsor, just like, okay, the video views maybe okay, that's good. Oh, the podcast downloads, that's getting a little better. You're spicing it up a little bit. Oh, you've got a newsletter too. Like you're just hitting them with like number after number. And even if they don't quite understand it, it just sounds better, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As a creator, you have these built-in trusted people who listen to you. And I can tell people that I have people who listen to me every week for 30 to 45 minutes on my interview-based podcast, and they feel like they know me. They've never
Mm-hmm.
met me before, but they feel like they know me. So knowing what's going to work, what's going to sell your services or your products as a creator is such an important thing. And just quickly, if you would, it doesn't have to be long and drawn out, but what's your tech stack for the newsletter? Like, how are you doing it? Like somebody who comes from the cooking world, I assume you're not that much of a technology head like myself,
No, not at all.
but with that being the case, how are you doing the newsletter?
MailChimp is what I'm using right now. I haven't had any problems with it. It's been pretty easy to use. Honestly, like you said, I know I can see there's a lot more functions to it that I'm not unlocking and probably not utilizing. But based on time and my knowledge, I just have to do the best I can. It's very easy to set up, and then you just pay a monthly fee. So it's been easy. You can do different landing pages, so I understand where the subscribers to the newsletter are coming from, which video it's coming from, or if it's coming from my website.
I love that. Thank you for answering that. I appreciate that. So let's talk about now one thing that you look back, maybe not even one thing, but a couple of things that maybe you look at now and you say, man, I wish I would have known that sooner. Now that you're multiple years into this, what is something that if you would have known sooner, you might could have grown quicker or whatever the result may be?
Yeah. So one thing that I wish I would have known sooner, kind of going back to the um, list I did, like I said, and seeing the top things on other channels was very helpful. Not being afraid to do the popular things again or in a different way is also very helpful. Other than that, just to redo what people are looking for. And everybody always says titles and thumbnails. I know it's beating a dead horse, but it's just the best way it was described to me, even though I knew it was important. And then you get in the rush of doing videos and you make your next video, then you do the title or thumbnail real quick at the end. That's what you do as a beginner. The best way it was explained to me is like, think of the viewer's experience from the outside in. You make the video from the inside out, thinking that you doing all the content on the inside and then do those last. But no, the viewer sees the title and thumbnail first, then they click in. And if they don't click in, it doesn't matter what's inside. So I know everybody says that, but it is that important. So I feel like I have to say it again.
Yeah, no, all those things are important. You're exactly right. I appreciate you answering that for me. In conclusion, kind of as we close out today, what's next for the channel? Like, what are you looking to do short term, long term? Like, what are you looking to do with the channel to grow it even further?
So my main thing, like I said, for me in the channel is going full time. So that's for me, I guess. And then adding all of those things, whether it be membership, sponsorship, merch, to grow it that way. I'm also diving into live a lot more. I feel like there's an opportunity with going live and possibly cooking live and learning the tech aspect of maybe getting multiple cameras. I've done a couple of those and they've been fun. And then, like I said, with my job I took earlier, long term, I do want to expand it into other forms of backyard barbecue cooking, whether it be smoking, grilling, pellet grills, whatever it may be, just to be more of an overall backyard, not like competition crazy, but just backyard everyday person barbecue channel. But I got to start with this one first and then niche down and then expand out once I've grown.
Love that. Guys, if you want to check out what Johnny has going on, it's the Johnny Brunette, Brunet YouTube channel. A lot of fun stuff over there. If you're looking for someone who's grown a channel the right way, Johnny certainly has. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, Johnny. You had so much insight for our audience today in regards to just growing and starting and how to make money and all of the things in between. So I really appreciate it. Let them know how they can connect with you outside of the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time and the honor, like I said, to be on here since I've listened so much. JohnnyBrunette.com is my website, but really Johnny Brunette on YouTube is the best way to connect with me and watch my videos. But if you go to JohnnyBrunette.com, I have a free download for how to griddle as well. And you can get on that newsletter, which is a lot of fun every Saturday.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, Johnny, take care and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.